The gluttony that exists in Washington, D.C. with these members of Congress, it doesn't dissipate. It's getting worse instead of better. Now, most of us are aware right now the ongoing debate with funding for Israel, for Ukraine, for maybe some money for the border, a little bit of money for the Pacific Rim, but there's more. There's more. There's more emergency. We got a lot of more emergencies that we're spending money on right now. Yeah, guns or butter. Wall Street Journal op-ed today. The last American president who tried to finance a war along with a new great society was Lyndon Johnson. It ended in inflation and retreat in Vietnam. Biden now wants to help Ukraine. He wants to help Israel. He wants to stop one that might be happening in Taiwan. Yet he wants to continue to spending on everything and anything. And here we go. No one's talking about this. $56 billion in emergency domestic spending. Talk about tone deaf. Yeah, $144 million to expand substance abuse and mental health prevention and treatment services in Maui. $16 billion for disaster relief. We already, have that already. I'm at a loss here. $68 million for the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention to build capacity for laboratory testing and biomonitoring. $2.8 billion for long-term recovery, restoration, infrastructure, and housing, economic revitalization and mitigation for California, Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, and Illinois. Now, you bet your bottom dollar that both elephants and donkeys are all over this, both sides, because it's going to go to their favorite contractors in those states. Mark my words. $310 million to address the need for additional water infrastructure to prevent and reduce sewage flows and contamination in Southern California. Ongoing design of the International Wastewater Treatment Plant. This is an ongoing project, so by definition, I wouldn't call it an emergency. $1.5 billion to support additional resources for state opioid response, not to mention the fact that states haven't even begun to spend the tens of billions of dollars that they've gotten from the drug makers and pharmacies and the myriad of different settlements that are out there. Northeast hasn't had a natural disaster, but $1.6 billion to cover the heating oil costs this year for lower income people in the Northeast. I got an idea. It's called Drill Baby Drill, to quote Sarah Palin. And how about putting some pipelines in too, so we can actually bring some natural gas to these areas? Yeah. And listen, guys, I can go on and on and on. This is another, $50 billion in emergency spending. So this is outside of the additional spending that's already been, extended because of the last debt ceiling deal that was made. We're losing our minds, people. We really are. We can't afford all of this nonsense. But again, you're watching all of this stuff and how it's tied together and the various different positioning and posturing on both sides and how one side is trying to extract a little bit from someone else. But the reality is, people, we're running $1 trillion deficits. $1 trillion deficits. We are already $33 trillion in debt. We can't afford this. Yeah, all of these things that we're told that we must spend money on, they can't even create offsets, for crying out loud. That's out of the question. No. You can't even create an offset. You know what's funny is that they're saying that this is ridiculous because some of the Republicans said, okay, $14 billion for Israel, right? Well, let's subtract the amount of money, the $14 billion, $80 billion you're sending to the IRS. And, oh, no, we can't have that. I'm not making this up. I found this yesterday, and this was in defense, okay? This is a liberal defending the idea that we shouldn't be taking money from the IRS. Do you know that the IRS is building, it's called a free digital tax filing system so you don't have to pay to use TurboTax. Now, lower income type people, if you're just doing a basic return, TurboTax is free anyway. So the government's going to build this system. Guess how much it's going to cost? $14.3 billion to build an app. Only the government does it cost $14.3 billion to build an app. I tell you what, yeah, give me $5 million. This is what I'll do. I'll learn how to code and I'll write the damn thing, for crying out loud. I'm not making this up. To build an app. And this is how pork works in Washington, D.C. They outsource it to their friends and buddies. And this is why Washington, D.C., everybody lines up at the trough. That's absolutely insane. Why would you need to do that? Why wouldn't you go to, like I said, TurboTax or QuickBooks and have them do it for you for next to nothing? But no, keep spending, keep spending, keep spending. At some point in time, there's got to be some people that toe the line on this. I'm curious to see what Mike Johnson is going to do. I really am at this point in time. He has to push back against the Lindsey Grahams, the Mitch McConnells, the Chuck Schumers of the world and say enough is enough. We're not going to do this. This is not going to fly. The House is not going to let this stand. And we're going to start actually standing up for our constituents, the American taxpayer. WatchDog on WallStreet.com.